Before the reign of Burna Boy, Davido, and Wizkid, there was Tubaba, Two-Face, who in the early 2000s defined Nigerian pop music. Soon after, P-Square emerged, matching and even exceeding the standards of hits and fan devotion across the continent. From Busybody, Temptation, Personally, Chop My Money, Alingo, Roll It, they became the next legendary duo, dropping hit after hit and becoming MTV Africa's Artist of the Decade in 2015. They stood shoulder to shoulder with Two-Face in influence and output. They defined what Nigerian pop sounded like in the 2000s. But they let division get in. Today, we are taking you down the memory lane of one of the greatest of all time in Afrobeat, their rise to fame, their rift, what's really the cause, their silence, fans' verdict, and an official call to action for both P-Square and every fan of the same duo. This is Clout Theory. Peter and Paul Okoye were born on November 18, 1981, in Jos Plateau State, to Josephine and Moses Okoye. At St. Marumba College, they joined the Music and Drama Club, mimicking Michael Jackson, MC Hammer, and Bobby Brown while perfecting their dance and vocal skills. In 1997, they formed the a cappella group MMMPP, later evolving into the dance crew Smooth Criminals, showcasing breakdance routines across Jos. By 1999, they attended music school to learn instruments like keyboard, drums, bass, and guitar. They also recorded voiceovers and soundtracks for Nigerian Nollywood films, including Mama Sunday, Moment of Bitterness, Eva's River, and Toby. Later in 1999, Peter and Paul enrolled at the University of Abuja for business administration. As their schoolmates left, they rebranded their act from names like Double P and Da P's to P-Square, guided by promoter Bayo Odusami, Howie T, into Lagos's music scene. In 2001, they entered and won Grab the Mic, the Benson and Hedges competition across Jos, Abuja, and Lagos. The grand prize funded their debut album Last Night, released in 2003, featuring hits like Señorita and Igbedu. It earned the Makora Awards nomination for Most Promising African Group. By May 2005, they launched their sophomore album Get Squared on Square Records, producing hits like Busybody, Temptation, Omoje Me. The album sold millions, reshaped Nigerian pop with choreographed visuals, and cemented their continental fame. In 2007, Game Over arrived and became their greatest seller, with songs like Do Me and No One Like You. Videos directed by their brother Jude elevated production standards. Album sales surpassed 8 million copies worldwide. They also collaborated with Two-Face Idibia, confirming their place alongside Nigeria's biggest acts. Between 2010 to 2011, they won the Kora Award for Artist of the Year $1 million prize in 2010 and performed a pointed protest during the ceremony, drawing attention to Two-Face's omission. In 2011, they signed with Akon's Convict Music and released The Invasion. Their track Eno Easy with Matt Houston charted top 5 in France. In 2012, their single Beautiful Onyinye with Rick Ross dropped, closely followed by Alingo in August. Alingo topped MTV Base's Naija Top 10 and prompted controversy and even temporary ban due to its provocative choreography. In 2013, they released Personally, a heartfelt tribute to Michael Jackson widely praised, including by Jermaine Jackson. From 2013 to 2016, they released hit after hit, Shikini, Chop My Money, Testimony, while selling out concerts across Africa and beyond, some with audiences exceeding 35,000. They received repeated nominations and awards at MTV Africa, Channel O, BET, Mobo, and beyond. Finally, in February 2017, P Square dropped the single Away, sparking excitement among fans. But behind the scenes, internal fracture began to widen. By September 2017, their planned USA-Canada tour was abruptly cancelled. Rude Boy confirmed on Instagram, P Square tour not happening, amid speculation of renewed discord between the brothers. Media outlets reported that Peter began legal processes to terminate the P Square brand, marking a quiet yet definitive split in the entity fans had known for nearly 2 decades. Later that same year, Paul publicly regretted airing family conflict on Twitter, calling himself stupid for going public and indicating a desire to move on quietly. But if we must ask, who carried the duo? When this conflict resurfaced again in August 2024, the same Paul that apologized a while ago, saying it was stupid of him to take their family rift online, publicly claimed he wrote 99% of P Square's songs. His statement triggered a response from Peter, who issued an open letter listing every major song he wrote: Get Squared, Busybody, Temptation, Personally, Alingo, Roll It, Senorita, Ejeajo, and more. He challenged the narrative that Paul alone drove their success. He asserted that Paul's narrative ignored his creative input and contribution to the legacy they built together. Peter challenged Paul's framing, saying, "When I spoke of P Square, I used we and us. But when you speak, it's always I and me, as if I never existed." He accused Paul of aligning with their elder brother Jude to marginalize him and questioned the benefit of depreciating their shared history as he wrote, "What do you truly gain by constantly disrespecting and belittling me? You disrespected my wife, my family, my talent." Peter declared that fans didn't love P Square because of one man. They loved the unity. He emphasized that their magic was collective, not individual. P Square's magic was our unity, not individual talent, he said. He wrapped the letter with regret over past silence. "I blame myself for not responding to your tweet claims in April 2015. I didn't respond for peace sake, but now I'm paying dearly." Peter warned that such narratives discredited his talent and defamed his work. This public exchange wasn't just sibling drama. It exposed how a division of narrative can fracture a legacy, even as the dispute escalated into legal battles over assets and management, involving their elder brother Jude. We would get back to Jude later. I overheard myself mentioning Peter's wife not being respected. Who's Peter's wife, and why is she not being respected by the other family members? Peter Okoye was married to Lola Omotayo Okoye, a marketing executive of mixed heritage who stood by him long before fame. Their union, 7 years of dating before marriage in 2013, faced repeated backlash due to their age difference and Lola's ethnic background. Worse, she became a scapegoat in the feud, accused both publicly and privately of influencing the split. The tension extended to family. Jude Okoye's wife unfollowed her online after Peter accused Jude's family of betraying P Square's legacy. But through it all, Peter called himself her gold digger, admiring her for the faith she had in his talent and vision. Could Lola have subtly introduced the talent comparison? Yes, indirectly, possibly even unintentionally. It's plausible that Lola seeded or reinforced the higher talent versus lower talent narrative, either directly or through emotional support. Here's the reasoning. 1. Peter's statement: "Fans compare us." Peter said, "People say I'm not talented, that Paul sings better, dances better." This wasn't a new narrative. It had been floating for years. But the question is, why did it suddenly hurt deeply enough to break a legacy? It's likely someone in his inner circle amplified it, not the fans. If fans had been comparing for years and Peter had managed to rise above it, after all, he stayed in the group for 2 decades, it suggests that something re-triggered the pain of that comparison in a new, more intimate way. Enter Lola. Second, timing, correlation with his praise for Lola. At the same time, Peter was making these emotional statements about being underappreciated. He also mentioned, "My wife believed in me. I was the gold digger. She saw my talent." That's a revealing pair of ideas. He was seen as less talented publicly, but deeply validated as gifted privately by Lola. This creates a strong emotional contrast. In psychology, this is known as a narrative reframing loop, where the support of one person, often a romantic partner, reshapes how someone sees everything else, especially their perceived oppressors or critics. If Lola constantly reminded Peter, "They don't see how much work you put in. You choreograph everything. Do they think it's just Paul? You carry this brand. Don't let them downplay you." Then over time, even unintentionally, she could plant a righteous indignation inside Peter. A feeling that he was the underrated pillar of the group, as he once tweeted, "I am Peter, the rock of P Square." And that staying silent meant continuing to be disrespected. That's enough to fracture a bond if there's already a crack. Here are some psychological insight. The affirmation trap. Sometimes the most dangerous manipulation doesn't come through criticism, but through praise. Lola may have affirmed Peter's uniqueness, encouraged his independence, emphasized that he could do it without them. Not because she was malicious, but because she loved him and wanted him to see his worth. But here's the twist. In group dynamics like P Square, highlighting one person's worth can unintentionally spotlight the other's lack. Paul and Jude could have interpreted Lola's affirmation as arrogance. She thinks she made Peter? She's feeding his ego. She's trying to split us. Even if Lola never said, "Paul is less talented," she may have repeatedly positioned Peter as more overlooked, more visionary, more hardworking. And that's all it takes. Now, that brings us to the questions of legacy and cultural neglect. By 2021, their reconciliation became viral. They hugged during a joint 40th birthday celebration, resumed mutual social follows, and shared public images with family present. Still, the causes of their split remained vague. The reunion felt symbolic rather than foundational. Today, many ask, are we still sleeping on P Square's legacy? They laid the groundwork for the Afrobeats explosion, while stars like Burna and WizKid operate on a stage they helped build. Yet they lack commemorative documentaries, major retrospectives, national honors, or sustained recognition. Why? Perhaps because division distracted their greatness. In April 2025, Peter Okoye took the stand at the Federal High Court in Okoye, Lagos, in yet another and current rift. He testified against their elder brother and former manager, Jude Okoye, accusing him and his wife of secret diversion of P Square's royalties into a shadow company, Northside Music Limited, without his knowledge or consent. Jude and the company were arraigned on 7 counts of money laundering involving 1.38 billion naira, $1 million, and £34,500. Jude pleaded not guilty. Peter revealed during testimony that Jude was the sole signatory on their main group bank accounts while he was locked out, even during a major house-building project funded through Northside Entertainment. He said he was told, "As you leave P Square, you leave the money." In August 2024, Peter officially denied any petition against his twin brother Paul. He clarified that only Jude and his wife were the targets of his EFCC report, never Paul, whose name was never included in the legal filings. He explained that Paul was repeatedly denied knowledge or access to Northside music despite repeated questioning. But as cross-examination continued, Jude's lawyer accused Peter of lying under oath. They challenged Peter's claim of being locked out of accounts, producing documents that showed both Peter and Paul were Category B signatories and thus had access. They also pointed out contradictions in Peter's testimony about his university education. He claimed graduation from University of Abuja, but there was no degree, prompting the judge to caution him on behavior in court. The trial was adjourned to October and November 2025 for further proceedings. But how did it come to this? How did years of global dominance and sold-out stadiums give way to silent bank alerts, encrypted contracts, and courtroom battles? These were happening behind the scenes while the fans were singing "No One Like You." Sometimes we forget how many hands it takes to build something great. How many roles go unnoticed because the spotlight only shines one way. Before the applause, before the arguments, there was alignment, different strengths, one vision, and maybe, just maybe, things started to fall apart when everyone stopped understanding that. What if everybody understands that P Square is not the work of one man's hands, that what the world claps for, what we chant, dance to, argue over, was built by a trio, not a solo? What if everybody understands that? Peter is not just a dancer. He's the force behind the energy, the reason the stage burns, the one who turns sound into spectacle. What if everybody understands that Paul is not just the voice? He's the spirit in the sound, the soul that makes the song feel like a memory, even before the second chorus hits. And what if everybody understands that Jude isn't just the brother behind the camera? He was the one who saw the shape of the vision before the world ever heard a single note, coordinating chaos into clarity, positioning the gift for global relevance. What if everybody understands that the group became great because the team functioned, that love becomes legacy when everyone plays their role well? And maybe, just maybe, what broke them for a time wasn't just ego or envy, but the silent forgetting that P Square was never a one-man show. What if everybody understands that the wives came in after the bond was born, and that as much as love adds beauty, wisdom is required when multiple loves are now part of one legacy? What if everybody understands that a wife who uplifts should not unknowingly pull down the other cornerstones, that every side comment, every private influence, if not managed with maturity, can rattle the foundation of something sacred? What if everybody understands that it's okay to stand by your husband, but not at the cost of a brotherhood that predates the wedding bands? What if everybody understands that fans are not always innocent? They compare, they choose sides, they provoke. But the men inside the music must know when to listen and when to lead with sense, not sentiment. What if everybody understands that even after public fallouts, even after EFCC storms, even after separation and side comments, there's still something worth saving? If not for the music, then for the memory of boys who once believed together? Because the truth is, no matter how loud the cheers, a broken bond backstage will always echo louder in real life. The industry paid attention. Fans still stream solo hits, but know full well that P Square's true power lay in unity. The P Square is not made up of Peter and Paul. It's a team of workers that projects the twins in front of the camera. It is supposed to be a family business. Critics, fans, and cultural historians place them alongside or just below 2 Baba in legendary status. Their continental success in the 2000s set a precedent for global Afrobeats. They are a reminder: disunity dims brilliance. Let this be a call, not just to fans, but to culture itself, to demonstrate digitally, publicly, emotionally, because the vesting of P Square as one entity has greater significance than who did what. We don't care if it's Mr. P or Rude Boy trending. We care that P Square remains. Let fans insist: legacy over division, music over ego, movement over persona. Because greatness is never an individual, it's collective.